What's going on YouTube? Cloverbells here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be recapping the Perth Regionals that just finished this past weekend. So before we even continue, I want to just make a little small announcement. So if you don't know, as of last night, we officially passed 10,000 subscribers on the channel. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. The channel truly has come a long way, and I never thought I could really get it to this point. But it just worked out that way. But it only worked out because of you guys that are watching the videos, right? In reality, I'm just an average Joe, pun intended, just sitting in front of a camera talking about Pokemon. But you guys are the ones that are watching the videos. You guys are the ones that are clicking and absorbing the content. So this milestone belongs to every single one of you just as much as it belongs to me. So thank you very much. And cheers, of course, to the next 10,000. All right. But that being said, let's go back to actually talking about Pokemon, right? So here we are, Perth Regionals. So at this point, right, we're just looking for any kind of information that we may need to consider as we head into Toronto Regionals, right? Which is, of course, this next upcoming weekend, the final culminating event for Regulation H before people get to click Wicked Blow on Urshifu again, right? But of course, you know, this is part of your prep. Right, you have to consider what might come about and what some new teams may have happened here at Perth Regionals, but we've got you covered. We're going to recap the results and see if there's anything that we need to consider as we head into Toronto. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the data from the Lab Mouse website. All right, so before we even take a look at the teams, I also just want to look at usage rates. You guys know how I do this by now, right? I always like to look at day one, day two usage. Now, we don't have the fancy graphic that they always put out on the stream, but that's okay. We can always still look at the data from the Lab Mouse website. By the way, shout outs to the guys at Lab Mouse once again. You know, without them putting this out, videos like this are just not possible. So shout outs to all the hard work that they put out every single day on the website here. But for Perth, again, one thing to note is that, you know, 173 master players in total. So again, smaller turnout than some of the other regionals in the other areas. But again, it's still worth looking at and still worth considering just because, you know, again, it is a regional. But anyway, so just keep that in mind. So 36% usage from Sneasler in day one. Okay, so still claiming that first place spot. But Incineroar, again, right behind it at 36.05%. Remember in the last regional after day two, Incineroar took that #1 spot title away from Sneasler, and it had it for, you know, almost 90% of the format. But now Incin has reclaimed that spot. Will it do it again here in day two? We'll take a look. But look at Goldengo there at number 3. That's okay. But Blood Moon Ursaluna now has shot up to number 4. All right, for a good reason. Okay, this we knew this thing, you know, could stay within the top 12 graphic at this point, but for it to climb up now as high as number 4 is very, very good. Dragonite there, number 5. Rillaboom 6. Arc and Pelipper 7 and 8 respectively. And then you got the trailers, you know, with the Munga Selectabuzz, the 2 redirectors, the 2 support Pokemon there, and Basculegion, and the regular Ursaluna just barely squeezing in at a tie, you know, at 17.4%, and then Gambit there at 13, at number 13 is what I meant to say, right? So you still got the 2 bears within the top 12 graphic, all right? And that's probably going to be the case as we head into Toronto, but without a doubt, it will be the Blood Moon getting a little bit more usage than the regular Ursaluna because it's more versatile. It's a little bit more splashable on teams, whether you want to play it like on the Trick Room teams, the Doug Balance teams with Dragonite and Goldengo, or if you just want to use it on like some of those hyper offensive teams, you know, with Talonflame and Indeedee Sneasler, it's also splashable there, right? So it has a lot more utility and more use than the regular Ursaluna, but and you know, and that's why it has higher usage. But again, the fact that the other bear is still in this graphic is also like very, very, very good and very, very telling. Of course, Electabuzz, again, now it is, you know, it's surpassed, well, not, I wouldn't say surpassed Magmar as like the better Eviolite redirector, right? Because again, Magmar is still very solid, but the Buzz can ignore 2 of the Sneasler status conditions. You can't get paralyzed and can't get slept, right? Because of Vital Spirit. So that's very valuable. And you're fast. So you got these fast taunts and these fast Electro Webs. And that's important, you know, in the long run, right? And of course, you know, Dragonite, Rillaboom stuff. So again, Scale Shot, of course, Scale Shot is what carried Dragonite throughout this regulation. Right? Let's just be honest, okay? Scale Shot, Dragonite was, you know, part of the meta along with Blood Moon. By the way, interesting enough, right? You know, you realize how both of these Pokemon are like on the graphic for Regulation H on Cerebi. It's like almost they knew how things would turn out in this regulation. Do tell, do tell. All right. That being said, if we look at day 2, okay, so let's go into let's say top 64, right? Let's see how this changes, okay? And now, if you take a look at Pokemon, okay, I'm zoomed in by the way, so just so you can see it. There it is, Incineroar taking over Sneasler yet again, 50% usage. All right, Sneasler dipping to 45, well, quote unquote dipping, but you know, rising to 45, but still in second place there. Goldango, D-Knight, Blood Moon Ursaluna still in 5th here. Again, was at 4th, but now D-Knight at 35%. All right, almost 36. All right, I think this is as high as D-Knight has ever been in this regulation. And then you have Among Us, Arc, the regular Ursaluna also climbing up a little bit in the rankings. Rillaboom dipping all the way down to 9th. All right, 20% there. Basculegion, Pelipper, and the Buzz, you know, round things out over there. So a little bit interesting in terms of places, but look who's not far behind. The Talonflame, Indeedee stuff, and then the Porygon, Volcarona ideas, right? So, you know, we'll take a look at those archetypes because those are also very, very solid. But all in all, like, no real surprises, I would say. I think I expected to see Incineroar again at number 1 after day 2. You know, Sneasler a close second, obviously. And then the 2 bears are still within the top 12. You're still getting Archaludon here. All right, and then you have the Among Us and Electabuzz as like some support options here. Basculegion also staying within the graphic is also telling because again, remember, it's not just all about the rain teams with Basculegion. You can also use it in the Choice Scarf variant with adaptability. And in fact, you know, what's really cool about this stuff is you can click the Pokemon and you can see the items that were commonly used here, right? So for example, if I click Incineroar over here, I can see Safety Goggles was the most common item of the 32 Incineroars, right? So that's really cool. And again, it's telling, right? It's all just data. So after that, Berry, Cloak, Assault Vest, and then, oh, Rocky Helmet Incineroar. That's very interesting, right? And then if you look at D-Knight here, obviously almost all of them are loaded dice. There's that one guy that's running Choice Banded D-Knight. So, you know, that's expected. But also look at the set here. Okay, Tailwind Dragonite also has become a mainstay. So we saw this, you know, develop towards the end of the format. We knew the set on Dragonite would vary a little bit. Okay, and it really just depends on what you're looking at. But yes, it is Scale Shot, it is Haze, it is Protect, and it is Tailwind right now, where you're just adding speed control on your team. You know, where it was a little bit lacking prior to that, right? The Blood Moon itself, okay, look at this. It's very split between the Life Orb and the Assault Vest. So that's also telling because it just tells you, you know, Life Orb a little bit more on those hyper offensive stuff, whereas Assault Vest is a little bit more evident on the balance teams for Dragonite and Goldango. And look at the partners. Look at this, right? Sneasler, Dragonite, Indeedee, right? With the Tailwind Setter and Talonflame, right? So we already expect the type of Blood Moons. It's going to be like Dragonite, Ursaluna, Goldango balance stuff, all right? Or it's going to be, you know, the Talonflame, Indeedee, Sneasler, hyper offense with the Blood Moon idea, right? And that's okay. That's okay. That's what we want. Now that being said, look at the Basculegion set. So let me see here. There it is. Look at that. Band and Scarf. Okay, and then there's a Life Orb user here. So again, 12 uses there. Not bad, not bad. Honestly, not too bad at all. And then I just want to look at the Rillaboom here just real quick just to see if there was some loaded dice. Yes, there were 2 of them. Okay, and most of them were in fact Assault Vest. And look at the options here with the move. There's the Bullet Seed, right, with the loaded dice. Of course, they both have to match. Otherwise, why would you run it? But anyway, you guys can check this out yourself, obviously. But I'm just going through like at least within the top 30, so this way you can see, you know, what people are using and why they're using it, and look at the partners too. So that's the power of the Lab Mouse website. Okay, so none of this is a surprise, you know, just from day 2. Okay, but now what we want to do is, of course, let's look at the teams and let's see what won and what also got into the top 8. All right, so we'll look at the winning team from Oliver Ramsey, and then we'll also look at the other 7 within the top 8. So Oliver is using, you know, typical Doug with Dragonite, Ursaluna, Sneasler, and then it's the Incineroar Among Us defensive backbone, and then you have Life Orb Goldango as your other strong special attacker that can truly benefit from not only the redirection and the fake up with the Incineroar to try and create space to set it up, but also the speed advantage with Tailwind, right? If you're on the Tailwind, you can just click Make It Rain and things just melt, right? So this is pretty cool, and this is one of the teams you're going to see in Toronto. Without a doubt, hands down, you know, Brady Smith also built this, and he has this rental as well. This looks like an adaptation of that, right? But again, the same 6 will still do very, very well. So do expect to see that, and if you still need something for Toronto, you can definitely pick this up too. Because again, the sneezer, the balance stuff has been a mainstay throughout regulationH. That never went away. Okay, so then after that, look at this. How about Porygon 2 balance here? Cracking in at number 2, Assault Vest Incineroar. This is one of the few AV Incineroars here. And then it is the Kilo Watcher rounding it out here, but it's not the choice specs. It is the Focus Sash variants, right? And you're still running Thunderbolt, Air Slash, Tailwind. Again, competitive makes it so that you're deterring away some of the Intimidate spammers against the Ursaluna. So this way, if they do, your Thunderbolts and your Air Slashes are just going to be hitting super, super hard, right? So take a look at that. And then, of course, if Assault Vest Incineroar, it just lets you take big special attacks, right? Imagine Earth Power from a Blood Moon Ursaluna. You can soak that up and then just click knockoff or click something just to potentially get a KO there. So I like Assault Vest Incineroar. Nice to see it get second place over here. Then as you go down and look at this, another P2 balance team, but this one, look at this. This one has Tailwind D-Knight, and it's got the same 5 here, you know, just typical Porygon balance. If you remember our rental for December, we had Hydreigon here with Tailwind, but in this case, we have the Ursaluna. I'm sorry, we have the Dragonite, you know, doing Tailwind. And I would not imagine or put it past you where the Ursaluna is super fast under this Tailwind, fast enough to outspeed the Sneasler. You only need 95 investments only, right? That's almost like max speed on it, but do expect that. So makes a lot of sense. I like Dragonite here. We like Hydreigon, but if you want to take away one less fighting weakness, you can definitely do Dragonite over here. It just makes a lot of sense. Joji Kaeda. So remember this type of rain variant. This is the Rise of Beth Rain, where you have the Sinister, Ursaluna, and the Archaludon stuff, right? And again, this is still like also totally fine. You get Trick Room on this team now. You still have Tailwind from Dragonite, and you get Tailwind from Pelipper too. So 2 sources of Tailwind, 1 source of Trick Room. You get Fake Out, you still get Redirection here, right? And you have Healing with your Sinistra, where you can get your multi-scale back, or you can just heal back the Guts Flame Orb damage that you'll be taking every single turn. So Sinistra, very valuable here. Okay, I like it a lot. Life Dew, also very nice. Again, just keeping your Archaludon healthy, along with your other sweepers, right, with the Ursaluna and Dragonite. You have all your win cons here. These are your support options with Incin and Sinistra, and your Pelipper is your weather control Pokemon. But this is probably the coolest team of the tournament, honestly, and it's not even like that out there. So look at this. We've got Sand. Okay, I always knew that Sand, you know, would be a player towards the later part of this format as we headed closer to December, right? Because Tyranitar just looked better and better and better the more things progressed, right? Again, and it's so good. Look, Rock Slide, Knockoff, Low Kick, Terra Blast. That's a very standard set. You don't need to do anything different. This set is exactly what Tyranitar is supposed to do. You're supposed to change the weather on the other teams, and then you're breaking Sash, you're breaking Multi-Scale, okay? And then you're KOing Sneasers right back with the Terra Blast, Terra Flying. And then they just die anyway because the sand chips them away. So, like, Tyranitar is so good. Okay, and now you add pieces like this. You add the Among Us Goldango. You know what you're getting there. You add the Tailwind from Dragonite. Okay, and now you add Gyarados here as opposed to something like Incineroar. Does a few things. Remember what Garchomp likes, you know, with Gyarados. You can Earthquake next to it. You get Intimidate support too. Sometimes Incin just doesn't really work out here because if you have Incineroar, then that's just way too many fighting weaknesses. That's also a lot of ground weaknesses. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? If you had the Incin here, that's just way too much. Okay, so 4 ground weaknesses, 3 ground weaknesses, right? And all that fighting weaknesses. You don't necessarily want it, so you can give that up. Go with Gyarados here, and then now at least you have Thunder Wave and Taunt, right? Which is pretty cool in itself, right? We used Gyarados on the channel just recently. Remember that rank 1 team that we showcased it. So Gyarados has some decent value here, especially with Taunt. But overall, again, nice full Sand team to take top 8 there. I like it a lot. Then, of course, the classic, okay? How many times have I spoken about this Rain team every time we do a recap? It still works, okay? And it just might win Toronto. Like, it just literally might win Toronto. Like, no matter how much we've spoken about this, the standard is always the best, okay? It's just a matter of, like, what do you want to do with the Terra types in some of these sets? You've got Bug Archaludon, okay? You've got Terra Ground Pelipper, Okay, that's pretty cool. Okay, and then you've got Psychic Amoonguss, of course, and then the Ensign is a Ghost Terra, and then Goldengo's just straight water. Alright, so some interesting adaptations, right? But they all make sense. And then as you go down here, look at this. This is your very typical Sneasel, Indeedee, Blood Moon stuff, and then there is the Tailwind on the D9 here. This almost looks like our rental that we put out for December. And of course, Incineroar just adds like a good solid defensive backbone. We put Talonflame there for our Tailwind center, and we didn't put Tailwind on the D9. That's another adaptation that you can do with this, and it clearly has worked here. Okay, and then how about a little bit of Sneasel balance here? You can't go a regulationH regional without having one kind of Sneasel balance in here, and this is it. Rillaboom, Gambit, Volcarona. Give me the Sneasel. Give me a Redirector. Usually it's Electabuzz if you're going with the Volcarona here. And then your water type is either something like Primarina or something like Dondozo. Again, Wave Crash, Fissure, Yawn set. Very standard stuff. Sometimes you'll see Baxcalibur on teams like this or even Dragonite. But we're just going full on in on the Sneasel stuff. Alright, so honestly, whatever you see in the top 8, those are like the top archetypes anyway. You got a Doug archetype. You've got P2 Balance, you've got an Archaludon Rain idea, and then you've got Blood Moon Hyper Offense. Those are like your top 4 immediately, right now. Okay, after that, it's just like everything else, like maybe the occasional hard Trick Room team, the occasional Sand team, you know, just like something like this, but maybe a little bit different. And we'll take a look at some of those other archetypes, but it's very clear what the best 4 or 5 squads are right now. But let's look at some other stuff. And let's see what are some of the other teams that also did well here. So this is one of the cores that we just spoke about. Again, you know, Talonflame, Tailwind with Blood Moon Ursaluna, just clicking Hyper Voice and Blood Moon nukes under that Tailwind is extremely powerful. And then the expanding Force Pressure along with the Sneasel, burst damage, you know, with Close Combat, Dire Claw, and then Throat Chop, Terra Dark is, you know, one way to really go about this squad. And then these last 2 slots, it's always up for grabs. But look at what people are using here. So let's take a look at this list. Let's look at Blood Moon Ursaluna, and then we'll look at the balanced variant of this. But we've already seen, you know, number 1 and number 7, right? But look at number 10 here from Sam Pendelis. Sam is saying, let's add the Armarouge over here. And Armarouge is something that can do well in, you know, Tailwind and Trick Room because it's in like one of those awkward speed tiers where, you know, it's not that fast and it's not that slow either. So it can still do okay in both kinds of speed controls. But look at this. You've got the Indeedee, you've got the Life Orb Blood Moon Ursaluna, and usually these Ursalunas are Life Orb on these type of squads because you want more damage, right? Whereas the Assault Various is on like those Dragonite Goldengo stuff. But look at this. You've got the E-Webs from the Electabuzz for a little bit more speed control. Then you've got, like I said, the Psychic Seeds, Throat Chop, Terra Dark, Sneasel. And then look at Armarouge here with Power Herb. You've got Aura Sphere, which is great, right? Special attacking fighting. You don't really see that all that much, right? So you get access to Aura Sphere, which is excellent into both Ursalunas and also Archaludon, right? You're basically forcing them to Terra, right? Then you've got the expanding force pressure from the Indeedee. So after +1, these expanding forces are just going to hurt so much. And then, you know, Meteor Beam over here. So, you know, just, again, to give you that boost. This Armarouge is going to hurt a lot, okay? So you have the E-Force brothers, right? And then you've got the Hyper Voice stuff. So Hyper Voice, expanding force, we already know. And then the single target damage that you would get, you know, from these Sneasel. So good idea from Sam. And then, you know, look at this, right? This is the balance stuff. So look at Mr. Nicholas over here. So he's got the screens idea with the Ninetales. He's got the Icicle Spear into Annihilate. Okay, so we've seen this before, right? You know, a couple of regionals ago where you can self-proc the Annihilate with the Rage Fist if you just go with Icicle Spear into the Annihilate, right? Then you have the Redirector with Magmar, Dragonite, Assault Vest Ursaluna, and the Goldengo. This is one type of Doug where the Ursaluna is, again, Assault Vest, and you're relying on your screens, you're relying on redirection support, you're playing a little bit more slower, a little bit more balanced, but the Dragonite now has Tailwind over here, so now you can also have the speed aspect for your team, and I like that a lot. Then, as we go a little bit further down, sometimes you'll see Blood Moon Ursaluna like this on these rain teams, and you have Farigiraf here. Look at this. We just featured Farigiraf on the channel, but look at this. Arc, Basque Legion, Pelipper. You've already got your Rain Core, then you add Sinister over here, but not the male Ursaluna. Now you add the special variant, and then you have Farigiraf here to deny, you know, Rillaboom, and you also deny like potential fake out users. But also, again, just having another Trick Room Center on this team besides the Sinistra, and then Mental Herb, you can't get taunted, Psychic Noise, Dazzling Gleam. So this Verograph there, again, like relatively supportive, all things considered, and really good against not just the Rillaboom, but also the King Gambit, because again, Basculegion is weak to both, so you can kind of deny the Sucker Punch pressure against it by just having the Verograph on, switching, and ready to go. Okay, so that's pretty cool. And then this is the one with D-Knight. So again, same kind of starting core with Talonflame, Sneasel, Blood Moon, Indeedee. Then you have the Buzz and the Dragonite here. And, again, we like Dragonite on these teams. It just makes so much sense. Just like the 7th place team over here. And it's just a way to go about it, right? There's no other... it's not like there's a clear-cut way, but sometimes we've seen Incineroar in that slot. And we'll show you that in a second. But look at this one. So Jay looks like he's got the same idea as Mr. Sam over there. I think so. Yep, it's a power set. So possibly have maybe built together. How about this idea for screens, right? This is, again, another one of those older Doug teams where instead of the Ninetales, we have the Grimmsnarl, and then we have the Volcarona Wincon. But look at this. Volcarona is supportive here with the Struggle Bot, Will-O-Wisp, and Tailwind. So that means you don't need Tailwind on your Dragonite. You can keep Haze on this, and you can still have Scale Shot and Extreme Speed, right? Still Assault Vest, Ursaluna, and then here's the Annihilate going for the setup with the bulk up pressure, and then Power Up Archaludon, okay, with the power, again, Terra Electric, Thunderbolt, along with Electric Shot, Deep Pulse. So very interesting squad too. So don't put it past that. But again, look at this. This is another one that's a little bit, well, no, actually that one's just the same one as the other one. But all in all, like, I think just Armourouge variant is something that's worth exploring a little bit further. Like, that one is kind of new. Okay, I haven't seen this one yet. This slot is always the interchangeable slot. Like, either you have Dragonite or something else in here. But just having the Armourouge here looks quite interesting. And maybe we might see this in Toronto. We'll see how much more exploration it can get moving forward. But your two main cores with Doug is here to stay. As far as like the Archaludon Rain core, you're always starting out with something like this with the Archaludon, the Pelipper, the Basculegion, and if you want to keep it more standard, then you go with something like this in the Amoonguss, and this is your typical 4-man core that you have seen since the beginning of the format. But it doesn't always have to be this way. You can still start with these three, and technically you don't even have to use Basculegion, right? You can even transform the team a little bit and go a little bit outside the box and use some other options, but at least still have the Weather Setter and the Weather Abuser, right? So if we take a look at the Lab Mouse, we've already seen a couple of common archetypes and common variants. We've already seen stuff like this with the Instant Amoonguss, Goldango, Backbone, right? That already is like the oldest traditional way of building Arcane. But then we just saw the one with the Verograph here and the special Blood Moon Ursaluna, right? So this one is another type of variation of the Rizabeth idea with the Sinistra and the physical Blood Moon Ursaluna. So again, that's another way to play it. And then the actual one, okay, where you have the actual Blood Moon Ursaluna with Sinistra, and then D-Knight over here as your secondary Tailwind Setter. So we've already established like some of the common cores, but then we have some outliers. Look at this one from Jim Sullivan right here. He's got Volcarona here, Heatwave, Terra Blast, Quiver Dance, Cobra Cloak set, okay, Terra Fairy, Snarl, Archaludon with Terra Psychic. Okay, that already just like resists the fighting stuff. Okay, but look at this. Then you have a Guavberry Pelipper, Terra Grass, okay, and then the Zoroark. Oh my goodness. Icy Wind, Bitter Malice, Will-O-Wisp, Taunt, okay? You already know the shenanigans you're getting with Zoroark, but then you add it to something like this, and now it's just like, oh my goodness, wait a second. Right, but it looks a little bit more supportive, right? So that's also quite interesting because, you might even think this might be Volcarona if you're just going for like Will-O-Wisp. So that's something you have to also watch out for, and just really be on the lookout with some of these other options. Like the Terra Psychic Archaludon is also again something that you don't see too much. We understand it, of course, but we'll just have to wait and see if that does pick up in Toronto as like the final tech of regulationH. But Volcarona on a Rain team is always something that has intrigued me in the past. The same way you would put Incineroar on a Rain team too. You do need this stuff for something like Rillaboom, okay? Because Rillaboom's gonna have his way with the Ursaluna and can put pressure a little bit on the Pelipper. So to have something against it, something like Volcarona does make a lot of sense. Then as you scroll down, look at this one from Daniel Walker. Another unique way of playing this. Like, you still have the Sinistra idea, you still have the Archaludon idea, but we don't need Ursaluna. What they're saying is, I want to have neutralizing gas with Galarian Wheezing, okay? I don't even care if I turn off my own weather, is what they're saying. We've got Gunk Shot, Acid Spray, Willow's Protect. Oh my goodness. Okay, and then P2 Terra Ground, of course. So you still have Instant P2. Then you have the Archaludon here. Dragon Pulse, Electro Shot, Substitute, Protect. I have not seen this Archaludon set before. Okay, Covert Cloak 2. Is this something from Japan? I don't even know. And then look at the Sinistra set. Calm Mind, by the way. So we got some setup Sinistra with Protect. Okay, Terra Dark 2. This definitely looks like something from Japan. We'll have to see if this picks up as we head closer into Toronto. This is a very interesting team. Alright, so shout outs to Daniel Walker for doing something like that. And then as you scroll down and look at this, we see the Greninja yet again. So again, if you don't remember what Greninja does, we just featured something like this on the channel. You can Water Shuriken into your own Annihilate and Archaludon, and you can boost up your stamina buffs. You can also proc your Rage Fist that way. And then you still have Talonflame here, as opposed to something like a Pelipper. Just, again, giving you speed control too with the Tailwind. But look at this. This Talonflame has Rain Dance. Okay, you don't see that. Okay, I don't think I've ever seen a Talonflame with Rain Dance. Okay, but here we are, clicking Rain Dance. Okay, and then Taunt on this thing with Brave Bird. So, some very interesting sets here. I guess Priority Tailwind, while the occasional Rain Dance is nice, because again, something like that would normally be on the Greninja here, and then you would have the Pelipper. That's what our rental, not our rental, but that's the rental that we used had. But look at this. Now we're getting some variants on the Greninja. Now we can put Haze back here. Then you can add Weather Ball and Dark Pulse. Okay, so you got your dark coverage. Of course, Greninja is a dark type, but this is a team. This is definitely a team. Okay. So shout out to Steph for doing something like this, and then Woodhammer Taunt Grassy Glide Fake Out. Like, very Terra Flying Archaludon. I have not seen that since like Regulation G. Okay, when that was one of the other Terras that you can consider. But other than that, standard Assault Vest set there. But there's some very, very nice tools there. So I don't hate this one bit. I think it's very, very, very cool. But again, you can kind of see this. Like, you got some Sinistra, some Amoonguss. Okay, so it all depends on how you want to play it. I'll look at one more over here from Harry Payne. It is the Whimsicott with Tailwind and Beat Up. And you still have the Annihilate. You still have the Archaludon, and you have the Pelipper back. And here's the Rillaboom with the loaded dice set. So we've seen this before, right? Again, the same thing that we saw with the Greninja and the Water Shuriken. You can do Bullet Seed into the Archaludon, get your shots going. Get your stamina boost going. Same thing with Annihilate with the Terra Fire. Proc your Rage Fist. So this is another way to play it. And if you want to go this route, then you can definitely go that route. I think it also makes a lot of sense. All right, the occasional Politoed team. I don't know if that's going to pick up as we go ahead into Toronto. But again, it is an option here if you want to do it like this. But, the advantage that you can do with Politoed is that you get access to Perish Song, and you still have Icy Wind Speed Control, of course. And you also get access to Haze, but you don't necessarily need to go that route. But all in all, like, again, there's about 3 or 4 Rain variants right now that are, like, a clear cut better than some of the others as far as, like, results wise. So we'll have to see which one comes out on top or which one performs the best within Toronto. All right, just in terms of like some of the other squads, there were a few more that I wanted to spotlight. So look at this Hard Trickum team, very standard here from Martin Perez, right? Look at this: Indeedee, Hatterene, Torkoal, Ursaluna. Then you add the Armors, then you add the Hisuian Lilligant, as classic of a Hard Trickum as it gets. But look at this Lilligant; it's got triple Axle there, and that's a cool tech that you can always consider. Power Herb Armor Ridge with Meteor Beam, Expanding Force, Armor Cannon, and Trick Room, Life Orb, Hatterene here. Ursaluna, very standard set there. Rocky Helmet, Indeedee with Terra Grass, also pretty standard. But look at this. You've got Eruption, Helping Hand, Weather Ball, and Burning Jealousy Torkoal. Okay? Burning, so this is like really good against coaching buffs, right? Because if they do get that buff, then they just burn themselves. And if you burn one of those physical attackers, that's bad. They just don't do any damage for the rest of the game. Same thing with like skill shot stuff. So this is a really nice tech on the Torkoal here. And yes, you do give up Protect, but in the end, If they went for that setup and you just catch them with a Burning Jealousy, that's it. It's over. They're not doing damage for the rest of the game. And I like the triple axle tech because you can break that first set on multi-scale and then just KO it right back with the ice coverage there. So this is also relatively nice. I like that a lot. Okay. Then as we scroll down, okay, there's some other stuff that you can find here that looks interesting. How about this one right here? 6'3". That is a Scrafty. Look at this Assault Vest Scrafty set. You're getting Intimidate. It looks like another, again, hard Trickum team, but some different options here. You got Solar Beam Torkoal, okay, Skill Swap Indeedee, Upper Hand Gallade, okay, Psych, okay, this one's actually a little bit standard, same with this, but look at the Assault Vest Scrafty with Intimidate. You get Knockoff, just like Incineroar. You get Brick Break, you can break screens, you get fighting coverage. Now you get Ice Punch for the Dragonite, okay, and to an extent the Ursalunas. Then you have Dragon Tail, send them back. Okay, bring something else in. This is a tech. Dragon Tail Scrafty. Okay, Day 2 Regional. I want to use that team. So, Diego, if you're watching, make it happen. Help us out here. Then you get the egg, right? Executor with Zard, Torkoal, Indeedee, Sneasler, Incin. Okay, this we've seen before with the Executor. I think it's pretty cool that thing has some relevance in the meta right now. How about this one? This one looks like it's from Penglin's team. And I know that because it's the Sylveon and the Meowscarada and the Decidueye here. But this is definitely a Penguin team. So Ken Arnie, right? Shout outs to them. And look at this squad. Meowscarada, Knockoff. Flower Chip Protect. Grass Pledge. Alright, so we got the Pledge stuff. Okay, yep, there it is. There it is with Primarina. And then look at the Decidueye. Triple Hours, Haze, Leaf Blade, Protect. Here's your Psychic Sea Sneasler set. And the Sylveon just meant to do a ton of damage. You know, with Choice Specs. Hyper Voice, Shadow Ball, you know, Hyper Beam and Protect. So that's a pretty cool squad. I don't hate it a lot. This is the Marco Sun team, you know, from Megan Rattle. Of course, we've seen what this team can do in the hands of Marco. So again, not surprised at the results in that sense. But as you go down, look, oh yeah, this is actually one of my favorite teams too. Again, Hydreigon with Snarl and Tailwind, okay, safety goggles. Sometimes you might even just straight up see the physical Ursaluna as opposed to Garchomp. But it is Scale Shot Garchomp. Look at this. Loaded Dice Scale Shot Garchomp. Stomping Tantrum Earthquake here. Alright, and then you're adding Tailwind with the Hydreigon. So now you can beat the Dragonite right back with your own Scale Shot. Forcing each other to go Terra Fairy, but even though this one is Terra Fire. Okay, so this is very interesting in itself. And you have synergy, you know, by clicking Earthquake next to Hydreigon there, right? That also makes sense. I'm surprised that we don't see the Goldengo also go Terraflying, but again, to each their own. It does not matter. That is a personal preference. Dragapult here with Clefairy is something that we haven't seen in a hot minute. But again, a Clefairy with Friend Guard, making the team super bulky. You get Aurora Veil here. You're just dealing damage behind the screens and the Friend Guard, and just sitting there and not having to worry about taking too much damage is always like a blessing in disguise. You do have Volcarona here. Also, again, definitely appreciates the redirection. Definitely appreciates the fake out and the screens that you might be getting with the Ninetales. So this is like, set up Volk for me, please. And then the Dragapult, again, is your physical burst damage here with the darts, the force, the outrage, especially the outrage, and the U-turn over there. Okay, so that was a cool squad. Then... how about typical regulationH Dondozo, if you know what I mean. Dondozo, Tatsugiri, Talonflame, Goldengo, alright? And then you have Glamora stuff. Of course, we love Glamora. And then you add the Hydreigon here with Snarl and Tailwind. I used to like this team. I like this a lot. I do like Hydreigon over there. I think it makes a lot of sense given him what it's supposed to do. But even though I'm looking at some of the 5-4s and 4-3s, like, honestly, like, some of these squads are still, like, pretty cool and pretty heat. So this is why I always preview it. We got a couple combo teams over here from Samantha and Jack. Let's just take a brief look here. Alright, so it's Clanging Scales, Clangorous Soul set with your typical Sneasler, Rillaboom, and Electabuzz support ideas. So I don't mind that. Alright, then you got this one with Gothitelle. Look at this. Alright, Iron Defense Body Press. Okay, and then the Shadow Tag Gothitelle here. Psychic Fake Out Trick 'em. Goldengo doesn't care about that. Nasty Plot, Make It Rain. King Gambit also with the Swords Dance. Again, you have a lot of support, especially if you can trap them in early on. But again, as you go down here, It's a lot of hyper offensive stuff, right? And some of the same teams that you already saw. I do want to at least spotlight this one, you know, with the Chandelure, which is, again, something that we've spotlighted earlier on the channel in some of our niche options. But the spec set is going to hurt a lot. You got Heat Wave, Shadow Ball, Overheat, Energy Ball. And then the Delphox itself has the Choice Scarf, right? Because you're trying to outspeed the Dragonite, you know, after one skill shot, of course. So that's another thing that you have to worry about. But Chandelure here, again, Flash Fire, very useful. Does a ton of damage. And, well, soaks up a ton of fire damage is what I meant to say. And Choice Specs, you're going to dish a lot of damage. So we'll have to see what Chandelure can do later on in play. But I want to leave with this Sand team here with Talonflame, Overcoat combo because there's a Tyranitar here. Then you've got Sinistra, right? And then after that, it just makes sense to add Archaludon with Snarl support and the Ursaluna in the last slot there as another Trick Room physical sweeper option, just in case the fast mode is not good enough. All right, so those are some of like the key cores with the some of the squads, like in terms of like some interesting things. But as I go further, I just wanted to look at one more over here. There was another one that I think I missed it, but I still think it's okay. Like even this one, is this like the same kind of squad? Yeah, it pretty much is. So, okay, there was the one with the Glaceon. Did I skip it? I think I skipped it at the bottom. All right, but we'll go back to it and let's see if we can find it, if anything. All right, we did not find it, but we did find was that Reuniclus team. Like when I saw this thing make 2, I was like, what is this thing supposed to do? All right, you've got all right, so you got Magic Guard, right? And then you got Trick Room, of course, which is pretty cool. You have the speed control for your side, and then the Expanding Force. I guess they're expecting Psychic Terrain users, and you can just take advantage of that. And then the tech of Flash Cannon against the Terra Fairy stuff to break their sash, right? Or break their multi-skill and deal big damage against them is going to be very important. And that's where like the Clanger Scales, Clanger Solstice is going to be really nice. So you've got Redirection, you've got the speed advantage on your side. You also have Fake Out Pressure to give you the space to be able to do it, right? And then Reuniclus just kind of chills here with the occasional Trick Room and 2 stabs, but it is Flash Cannon. So that's another thing that I did take note of. And we'll have to see if that is the case later. And honestly, that's it. So, and again, not a huge regional, you know, just under 200 people. And I would say these are like your best cores here. So if you're still trying to, you know, start and you're with your Toronto prep, you know, again, these are some teams that you can just, you know, straight up build off of. So you can do the Rise of Beth idea with the Arc Pelipper, with the Instant Sinistra, you know, with your Fire, Water, Grass core, and then Dragonite comes in with Tailwind. You could do stuff like that, and usually that last slot is something like the Ursaluna, or you could do something like this, where you go the hyper offensive Blood Moon route with Talonflame, Blood Moon, Sneasel, Indeedee, Electabuzz +1, sometimes, you know, Incineroar, sometimes Dragonite, sometimes something else. The P2 balance stuff, you always start like this: Instant P2, Amoonguss, Ursaluna. Goldengo usually rounds out your 5th slot, and this 6th slot can be like 7 different Pokemon. I've seen, you know, Flamigo there, I've seen Tyranitar there, I've seen Hydreigon there. Usually it's some kind of synergistic mon with the Ursaluna that you can Earthquake next to. So that's something that's worth exploring, but that's another thing. This Arc Rain team is the standard test of time. This will do something like Goldengo this last slot here. Otherwise, maybe something like Kingambit. But either way, your very classic Archaludon Rain is right there. And the balanced Doug stuff, you know, with Dragonite, Ursaluna, Goldengo, Instant Amoonguss. This is obviously something like Sneasler. But again, you can also do the Screens idea where you add something like a Ninetales or a Grimmsnarl, okay? And they can help set up your options, you know, with your Goldengo especially, right? Because you usually don't have something like a Rillaboom. You usually have something like something else. But other than that, that's another way to really play Doug if you want to do it like that. You could do with screens, or you can do it without screens. And we showed you those teams, so it's really up to you and how you want to play it. But otherwise, that is in terms of the 5 that we saw, like what is like strong right now, at least from those regions. There's more than this. And what I want to do moving forward is just like, again, preview a bunch of teams that are going to be pretty good if you do bring them into Toronto. Okay, so our prep continues. All right, let me know what you thought of the Perth Regionals. And yeah, if you still need some last minute coaching, make sure you sign up on the channel. Tier 3 gets you a team building session with me where we can build a squad from scratch and just hash out the EVs and whatnot. Or if you really want to get a head start on Regulation G, we can do that for you as well. So if you're starting Regulation G and you need some assistance in building your squad, same thing. Tier 3 gets you that session with me. If you look in the video description, that's where you'll find it in terms of the link. Or if you look in the pinned comment section, you'll find the same link where you can join the channel with that tier 3 sub and then just message me and we'll coordinate from there. But as far as like joining the Discord, that's free. That you don't have to pay. We want the open source community to be free and be able to join in. Okay, but anyway, we'll be back with another video in the next one, guys. Peace out and have a good one.